right? They were never different. They were the same. Exactly the same. Because the spirit was completely intact. You were entirely in sync with what the purpose was. Now, slowly and steadily, when you started moving away from the spirit, what we had left was just rituals. So that's why the word spiritual has the first three letters SPI. And then there is ritual. Very simplistic explanation, but one of the explanations. So when the spirit is intact, then every ritual is spiritual. But when the spirit is missing and the three letters SPI are gone, what you have left is ritual. That's what we call ritualistic religion. When the spirit is present, there's nothing like religion and spirituality. They're both the same. But when the spirit kind of fades away and weans off, is when you then start saying, okay, I don't want this. I want the crux. I want the essence. I want the spirit. I want the purpose. That's why you then say, I want to be spiritual but not religious. Now, why do you say I want to be spiritual but not religious? Because the rituals that are associated with religion have kind of become just mechanistic and, have lost the purpose.
It need not necessarily be that, right?
It need not necessarily. I'm saying it could be.
Could be. Okay.
Could be. But as soon as you find that in place, most everybody is saying we want to do it.
Correct.
Nobody is against going and bowing down. Nobody is against offering a flower. But if that offering of flower is just becoming a mechanistic chanting of ritualistic mantras, then I say, I don't want this. I want to have spirituality which is, more deeper, which is beyond these externals. So then I want to be spiritual, but not religious.
But sometimes those ritualistic mantras, to do it in that sync, also regulates your breath, helps you in concentration.
Absolutely.
And it sometimes is actually easier to practice spirituality if you have the rigors of those rituals.
No,
Am I wrong in saying this?
No, I completely agree. Which is why you see the world today is turning towards those rituals back, right?
Yeah.
You'll see so many of our youngsters crowding, gathering in large numbers in places of worship, in ashrams, in monasteries, learning how to chant mantras, learning how to meditate. Because I think in the modern day and world today, even spiritual leaders, gurus, now are focusing back on the essence behind those rituals than keeping them rituals.
We saw Lionel Messi sitting in that
Yes.
yogic position
He was sitting there.
and meditating. He did the aarti.
He did aarti, he did abhishekam.
Abhishek.
And they're all very beautiful, right? As soon as you know the intent. So what I think, look, whether to go through rituals or not to go through rituals is an individual choice.
Sure.
Both are okay. You could do away with rituals and still have that interconnect. Rituals makes it easier, right? It's like on a birthday, you could do without the birthday song, but a birthday song makes it easier to express your feelings. On a Valentine's Day, you could still express, you could do without a rose, but a rose makes it easier to express how you feel to the other person. So, you could do both, right? But when in the modern world today, you find a lot of gurus, spiritual leaders who are on social media explaining the intent behind it, explaining the energy behind it, explaining the science behind it, making it logical, rational, scientific. Most people would say, oh, this makes sense. Maybe I should try it out. Am I saying this is it? No. But maybe I should try it out, right? And I think spirituality is less about logic and rationality, but that's the beginning point, starting point. Because at the end of the day, when you do something, you get an experience. Like you said, if you mentioned that, then when you, for instance, have mantras or whatever else, you see that you can regulate your breath better.
Yeah.
That's a first-hand experience, right?
Yeah.
I take a medicine or I use a cream to do away with my acne breakout. And if I use that cream or a lotion, and if that goes away, the first was just a theory that this will work. And it brought me to the point of buying a pack of that lotion and using it. And once I start using it, I see that my acne is gone. So that's experience, right? Okay. That experience then makes me tell 10 others, if you have an acne breakout, use this lotion.
Swamiji, you would chant Hindu mantras. That's your, what should I say, that's the path to your dharma. You would do that. Would a monk, say for experiment or to try it out, choose to recite from a Quranic verse or, the Jewish faith or Christianity? Would you do that too?
I wouldn't have a problem.
Okay.
The reason being, you will have universal principles in most of these faiths, spoken in a different language, in a different jargon, in a different style, in a different meter, in a different tune, right? Just different way of expressing it. Now, it's not about the particular faith. It's about wherever you find that universal essence. I don't find any reason why we can't do it. Now, if I don't find that essence, it's probably I would question doing something like that. But if I find that essence anywhere, I don't think then it's only Sanskrit that matters, right? In India, in the Bhakti tradition, you see the Bhakti tradition, the Vedic tradition was more restricted to people who had a great mastery over the Sanskrit language. The Vedas, the Upanishads Puranas were meant through stories to explain those principles. Still, it was Sanskrit, right? So, those books were for people who had mastery over the language. But the saints who followed the Bhakti tradition based on these Vedic tenets, then made that wisdom, made that process, made that path very easily accessible through the local languages. In Maharashtra, you have the Abhangas of Tukaram, Jnandev, Namdev, Janabai. In Gujarat, you have Jalaram Bapa and so many other saints. Narsi Mehta, who wrote so many bhakti poetries and songs.
In Karnataka,
you had Kanak Das, you had Purandar Das. You go to the South India, you had the Alvars. A lot of the Alvars who brought it, all the Divya Prabandhams in the Tamil language.
And then Bengal had it.
You had Bengali saints, you had a lot of Bengali saints who... You had Narottam Das Thakur, you had Bhakti Vinod Thakur and so many other saintly personalities. Rabindranath Tagore himself was composed so many songs in the Bengali language. You go to Rajasthan, you'd find Mirabai who composed so many songs. So what they did was...
It's a rich bhakti tradition.
Such a rich bhakti tradition, right? So what they did really was then brought these principles and made it accessible to the general folk. Correct? Now, that's India. But outside of India, you will have so many such saintly souls and so many such faiths and so many such traditions where in their local language, they've kept the essence intact. So I think we shouldn't be seekers of language. We should be seekers of the essence. And anybody who is seeking the essence will most certainly, regardless of any linguistic barriers, regardless of any faith or religious barriers, regardless of any national or gender barriers, will look for the essence. A honeybee vis-a-vis a housefly. A housefly you would see would generally go to a rose garden but find a piece of trash. That's a fault-finding mentality. Not seeking the essence, always looking for rubbish. A honeybee, on the other hand, might go to a pile of trash and look for a tiny flower from which it can seek some essence. Now, we should be like the honeybee, seeking the best even out of the worst.
Look who you're talking to, Swamiji. Why? I'm a journalist. I'm the trashy fly who asks these questions. Because I'm going to ask you this
You are humble, madam. You're very modest, aren't you? But
I'm going to get that कि ये भी सवाल पूछने वाला था. इतने महान हस्ती आपके यहाँ है और आप ये ट्रैशी सवाल पूछ
so देखिए ना,
पत्रकार ऐसे ही सवाल पूछते हैं.
काम है ना जी
काम
जब तक वैसे सवाल नहीं पूछेंगे खुरेद के कैसे सच्चाई निकलेगी. है ना, तो काम है आपका, वो आपकी भूमिका है. तो कई लोगों को कई भूमिका करनी पड़ती है, वो उनका तप है ना. So I think
that's a nice way of putting it.
So I think
but I get what you're saying.
So my point then was, if you look at a honeybee, मधुमक्खी जो होती है उसका काम है कि कचरे में से भी मधु निकालना. और हम जिन पंथों की या ट्रेडिशंस की बातें कर रहे हैं वो तो कचरा भी नहीं है. जहां तो सच में कुछ मिल सकता है, जब हम कचरे में से भी मधु खोज सकते हैं, तब फिर घटिया से घटिया चीज में अगर भाई हम अच्छा ही कुछ निकाल सकते हैं उसमें से, तो जहां अच्छा है उसमें अच्छे दिखने में क्या दिक्कत है? सो आई थिंक, ट्रस्ट मी, someone who is a seeker of the truth, someone who is a seeker of the essence, someone who is a seeker of love, someone who is a seeker of purity, will not bind himself or herself with boundaries that inhibit them from getting the best from all traditions and all paths, right? At the same time, what it is you seek from others, you learn from others, you appreciate from others in a way that you can follow the path you have chosen very loyally. So seeking from others does not make me any disloyal to the path I have chosen.
True.
You know,
True.
I'm a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a Gaudiya Vaishnava, and I follow the path of Krishna Bhakti, right? And I try in my level best to be committed to the path that I have taken, and for the last 3 decades I've been following that path. Everything that I learn from these other paths are meant to make my devotion, my commitment, my dedication deeper to the path I've chosen.
Beautiful.
You know, like for instance, a man or a lady might learn something from somebody else, another man or a lady out there, but when they have love for their particular partner, they're taking that from there to make their bond better and deeper.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
They make their bond deeper. They, like for instance, a lady sees another lady dressing up in a certain way, right? And she finds that extremely beautiful. She'll take that from there, not to go and become her, not to go and start dating her partner,
No.
but she'll take that from her so that she can be very beautifully decorated and committed to increase and deepen the bond that she shares with her partner. So which is how the beauty of this is. So when you are a seeker of the essence, you don't limit yourself. At the same time, you don't kind of quit the loyalty that you have towards the path that you have chosen. Right.
Swamiji, since you spoke about the Gita and about Krishna and the Bhakti movement, I have a question to ask, which now sounds like a trashy fly question, frankly, but it's a question I have to ask. That when everybody was very curious when we saw Prime Minister Modi gift the Bhagvad Gita to President Putin.
Right.
I hesitate in gifting anything of religious value, whether it's the Gita or a Ganesha statue or anything, because I don't know that the home that it is going in, it will be given the same kind of respect, and I don't know what that home is like. So I hesitate in doing that, but not everybody has that.
Correct.
It's fine. I appreciate whoever does that too. But he gave it, and there was a lot of talk that he's a war president. Why would you give the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, a religious doctrine, to President Putin? The way I saw it is that the Bhagavad Gita is not just a religious book, it's also a war doctrine. When I said that, I got a lot of criticism that it's not a war doctrine. What are you saying? The Bhagavad Gita is different for different people. And even for a single person, it can give meaning of different things in different times of one's life. I'm talking too much, but I'm just
No worries.
telling you where I am coming from,
Sure.
and why I'm asking you this question, because lots of people wondered. Of course, there was no explanation given to anybody as to why he chose it to give it to President Putin, and whether President Putin has read through the entire thing or not. But there is a picture of him with the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in Russia,
Right.
in Moscow.
Right.
So I want to ask you that what do you think was in his mind when he gifted that to President Putin?
Okay.
I mean, just to hazard a guess.
So how I would look at it without having to read the mind, or just how I look at it. In my travels across the world, I have a altar, puja, worship altar that I carry
Yes,
with me.
I read in the book too.
Yes, so I carry it with me everywhere. And in the Vaishnava tradition, we have what is called as a Shaligram Shila. Shaligram Shila is considered a manifestation of Vishnu or Krishna, and it has natural markings, comes from the Gandaki river in Nepal. So I have a Shaligram Shila who goes with me everywhere I go, and every morning for an hour and a half I have my worship and all of that I do, any part of the world, right? Now, in India, when the security personnel, when the bag goes through the X-ray machine,
My father had to do that too.
you know, when the bag goes through the X-ray machine, in India, most people will ask us to open the bag. My team will open the bag up, and then when they see Shaligram Shila, most people they know it. Even someone who's not of the Hindu faith will know it, right? And when they see me, they've already seen me, and they love me regardless of what faith and what doesn't matter, because humanity transcends all of these things. Wisdom transcends faiths. Life transcends faith. So people have that kind of a connect. So usually they wouldn't kind of, question or want to kind of, most people wouldn't want to hold it, the chila in
Because
their
they're wearing
hands.
shoes.
They're wearing shoes, they've probably gone to the restroom, and they know that you would have a certain standard in this worship. So when I travel overseas though, that's not the case. This is a young American security officer, and he asked me to open the box, and I opened the box. He said, I want to hold him. So I said, yeah, fine, no problem.
Oh.
He held him. He's a security officer. He's anyways going to take the Shaligram Shila, right? Whatever you carry, if he has any security concerns, no one is an exception. So and I don't make exceptions as well. I am just another person, a traveler. Why should I be made an exception? I am as much subject to security checks as anybody else in the country or in the world. So he held that Shaligram Shila in his hand, and my Shila also opens up. So it's the Sudarshan, the chakra inside. So he said, oh, this is a fantastic fossil. Ammonites. He said, so you collect ammonites. So in the US also you have ammonites from which have these kind of patterns. Yeah, keep it, no worries, take it. So I packed the bag back. For a split second, I had this question in my mind. Like, not question, but this discomfort, feeling of discomfort in my mind that, he's probably used the restroom. He may not have even washed his hands. I don't know. And thankfully he was wearing gloves, but I don't know what those gloves have been through. And trust me, the very next moment I thought, when in his life would he be holding a Shaligram Shila?
Yeah.
The power of holding something so sacred. Cleanliness and lack of cleanliness is for us, not for someone divine or not for something divine. Our mindsets, good or bad, are for us, not for something divine. So when he held the Shaligram Shila in his hand, I came back to our ashram and I told some of my friends in the ashram the story, and I said to them, I said, as I boarded the flight, I had actually deep gratitude in my heart that the Shaligram Shila, because I have this faith, audience need not have this, but this is a point to make. I felt that Shaligram Shila chose to go in his hands, to give him an opportunity to hold him, right? And that made my mindset completely different. Rather than cribbing and complaining that why did he do this, was he clean or not? The Shila is beyond standards of cleanliness or not lack of cleanliness. It's divine, spiritual. There is a vibe in it. And probably he got to experience whether he realized, whether he didn't realize, deep somewhere in his soul, that connect happened. Gita is no exception. Gita is a spiritual book, right? It is a spiritual book with a very divine spiritual energy. Tremendous spiritual Shakti, right? Whether I understand yet or not, whether I consider it a war doctrine or I consider it to be a spiritual book, I consider it religious or spiritual, whatever I consider is, there may be 100 interpretations on it.
Sure.
We will all have our interpretation. That's fine too. We will all have multiple interpretations on whether we should look at it spiritual or religious, war or not war, and multiple ways of looking at it. At the same time, can't do away with the fact that there is tremendous spiritual Shakti in the book coming from the words of Sri Krishna. Those words carry power. Sound is an energy, right? Sound exists, and that sound manifests in the form of words. Those words manifest in the form of ink, letters written with ink or printed with ink on paper today, Which is why Vedic sound was called Shabda Brahma. Spiritual sound. Even today, a lot of times we would listen to even modern monks, like very modern. I'm very modern, of course. I'm very urban in my language and my jargon. Even my book, if you read,
Yes.
very,
Yes.
very modern and contemporary. But even I can say this, that when you sit in silence, you start listening to, initially you probably just start listening to the sounds in your mind. There's a lot of demons we start facing and all of that. And as the deeper you go into that state of silence, you start listening to a sound or something which is beyond, connecting to something that's beyond. Because the Shabda, that sound exists. The divine sound, whether you call it God's sound or call it the sound, the energy of the universe, whatever you call it. Subject to how people take it. But the fact of the matter is this, that you can connect to it. And that's the sound now manifested in the form of ink printed on paper, which we call the Bhagavad Gita. To us, it might be paper, ink, words, language, verses, translations, interpretations, bound, the beautiful cover with a picture of Krishna and Arjuna on top of the book, Bhagavad Gita on top of it. Let's probably look at this premise that there's a Shakti, spiritual Shabda sound in there. So when somebody holds that, right, there is an influence of that spiritual sound on us. You go to a hospital, madam, right? The hospital is kind of, nobody goes there and celebrates. Does anybody celebrate in a hospital? We don't celebrate. Hospital is a place of anxiety. You go to see somebody, a patient, everybody's sitting there anxious. Somebody's in the ICU, the relatives are sitting anxious. Somebody's in the operation theatre, the relatives are sitting there anxious. You know what? That entire collective energy of anxiety is created by the people who are sitting there, right? They are all anxious collectively. That's the Shakti there, right? You go to a discotheque or a pub. The energy is not that of anxiety. The energy is that of celebration, dance, joy. And that entire energy is created by whom? Not the bricks and the walls. It's created by the people who are letting that energy out into the space. You go to the stock market. The energy is not that of a meditation. The energy is that of money, trading. Because everybody there is letting out the same energy in the structure made of brick, cement and steel. You go to a temple, an ashram, a mosque, a church, a synagogue. You will see that there is a different kind of energy because it's created by the people who are there. So, if you go to that place, you can sense energy. You can sense the power that's coming, positive or negative both, in that place. You may have probably gone to somebody and you might have felt that although nobody said anything, you felt unwelcome. You could sense the energy. And sometimes nobody's saying anything to you, but you feel very welcomed, loved, connected. So we sense those energies. Energies influence us, correct? And keep spirituality aside, look at these real life examples. That we all get influenced by energies around us. So Gita, can you imagine divine energy in the form of sound in that book? Although we can't hear it, the energy pervades that book. So anybody who holds that book will in some way, shape or form, somewhere, something, that energy does influence us, does get to us, probably makes us a bit reflective for a moment. Who knows?
Sure, he may take the decision not to, or to end the war, based on what he gets from the book.
Makes us reflective for a moment. Maybe we may read a verse from there, and that verse and read the translation, and suddenly that translation might just start speaking volumes to us more than anything else. We don't know. Those moments of epiphany that we get in those moments, we don't know, right? It's like this. You have the text and then you have the context, right? And it's the context that gives a lot of meaning to the text. Like I read the Gita several times when I joined the ashram and today. The text is exactly the same.
But your takeaway.
But my context has changed. My life has moved on. The way I am dealing with the world is different compared to how I was. Probably my life earlier was more in isolation. Now my life is a lot in integration. So the same text speaks in very different ways. Which is why it's a living book. You know, it's not like a line on stone.
No, yes.
It's like
I get that.
it's like the current of a river. When you say it's a line on a stone, it's frozen.
So Anshi, people say that like don't keep the Mahabharata at home. लड़ाइयाँ हो जाती हैं.
जी.
Now there are also people who, I'm coming back to that whole gifting of the Bhagavad Gita to Putin. The idea that a man who is responsible, as per some people, that he is the man who's responsible for thousands of people dying. He's a mass murderer. These are the tags. So is there somebody who should not be given the Bhagavad Gita? Do you give a Bhagavad Gita, for example, in a jail to a hardened criminal and expect a change in him, or do you just give it to him and then say that it might reform him? That is there no sinner who cannot benefit from it because he's so far gone?
Everybody can be beneficiary to the power of the Gita. Right? I don't think there's anybody in any situation, in any condition, no matter what the background, no matter what the action, no matter what, everybody can get the Gita, right? Initially, just as the energy, because we don't even probably want to read it initially.
Yeah.
Right? The Shakti, the spiritual Shakti.
You feel that just the book, the presence of the book is
the presence
Shakti?
of the book itself will, I'll tell you, like for instance, if you go to Gurdwaras, the main worship is of a book.
Of a book.
The Granth Sahib, right? What is being worshipped in a Granth Sahib? It's not a book.
No, it's the words.
It's not the ink, it's
The
not the paper, it's
essence,
the word,
yeah.
the essence, the energy, the Shakti. You go to गुरुद्वारा, आप गुरुद्वारा में जाके जब मत्था टेकते हैं, उसमें से आपको एक अलग प्रकार की शांति आती है. आपने तो किताब के वर्ड्स भी नहीं पढ़े, आपने तो उसका मतलब भी नहीं समझा. मेरे में तो अभी वो बैंडविड्थ भी नहीं है समझने की. लेकिन जब मैं वहाँ जाता हूँ तो मुझे एक अलग प्रकार का सुकून मिलता है. तो मतलब उस किताब में शक्ति है, चाहे कोई भी अंदर चला जाए उसकी एक पोटेंसी से वो आ जाएगा. इन मोस्ट पार्ट्स ऑफ नॉर्थ ऑफ इंडिया दिस व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज द भागवत सप्ताह. मोस्ट पार्ट्स द कंट्री फॉर दैट मैटर, बट इन द नॉर्थ ऑफ इंडिया इट्स क्वाइट रिनाउंड एंड पॉपुलर. लोग भागवत सप्ताह करते हैं और जब भागवत सप्ताह होता है तो भागवत जी को एक आसन पे रखा जाता है, राइट? उसकी पूजा होती है, उनकी आरती होती है, उनको नमन किया जाता है और
It's a celebration.
It's a celebration. और उन किताब में जो कथाएं हैं, उस किताब में जो श्लोक हैं वो पढ़े जाते हैं, उनको समझाया जाता है लोगों को. लेकिन वहाँ जो जाएगा उसकी एक उस किताब की एक अलग शक्ति है, right? You know what I mean? So initially it's probably just the Shakti, just the influence of the book on us. Maybe because of that influence we might probably want to pick it up and read, right? And probably when we read it, it's just Gita is very deeply philosophical. It bounces, ऊपर से जा रहा है सर के ऊपर से कहीं. लेकिन हो सकता है एक वर्ड एक कहीं तो कोई सिचुएशनल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एक कहीं तो कहीं चिपक जाए. और जब वो चिपक जाता है ना, वो शायद भूल भी जाते हैं हम. लेकिन जब वक्त आता है तब पता नहीं वो कैसे वो अंदर से वही स्फुरित होता है. इट कम्स बैक टू. इट्स लाइक दिस. व्हेन यू फ्लाई ऑन अ प्लेन, the cabin crew members will always make safety announcements. कोई बंदा सुनता ही नहीं उनको. और जो frequent flyers हो तो बिल्कुल सुनते नहीं. मैं ना जब भी फ्लाई करता हूँ, अभी मैं बहुत ज़्यादा फ्लाई करता हूँ, I travel a lot, लेकिन मैं ना उनके पास देख कर सुनता हूँ हर फ्लाइट में. क्योंकि अगर मैं अपना काम कर रहा हूँ रोज का और कोई मेरे सामने बैठ के मेरे पास नहीं देखे और सुने, कितना डिसरिस्पेक्टफुल होगा वो. If somebody is doing their duty diligently
For your safety.
for my safety, I might know everything. It takes 30 seconds to a minute for me to pay attention. कौन सा इतना बड़ा काम है, तूफान आएगा कि मैं अगर ये नहीं सुन लूँ 30 सेकंड में, है ना? So I pay attention to them. So इतनी फ्लाइट के बाद तो अभी शायद मैं ही खुद अगर कोई नहीं आए तो मैं ही अनाउंसमेंट्स कर दूंगा. तो उसमें एक वाली अनाउंसमेंट जो हमेशा अनाउंसमेंट्स करते हैं, उसमें इमरजेंसी जैकेट्स जो रखा होता है आपका, सेफ्टी जैकेट सीट के नीचे है, बिजनेस क्लास में मिडिल आर्मरेस्ट के अंदर रखा हुआ है. बोलते रहते हैं किसको याद है कहाँ रखा
और
है,
किसने चेक किया है, वैसे
किसने चेक किया है और किसको याद होगा नहीं
है भी कि नहीं,
है भी कि नहीं. लेकिन जब इमरजेंसी होगी ना,
याद आएगा. हाँ,
वो याद आएगा.
Muscle memory also, no? That you have heard it so many times.
That's the Gita.
Okay.
That's one word which in that context hit you hard and you probably forgot it. At that time when you need it the most, that word will come back, that verse will come back, that sentence will come back. Which is why I feel speaking about these things, doing podcasts like these, sharing these messages, putting the word around, or shall I say putting the word out, is like a squirrel. The squirrel is going one place to the other with little tiny nuts in its tiny little mouth and dropping so many nuts so many where the squirrel doesn't even know, and that same nut turns into a tree someday, right? तो ये जो हम बोल रहे हैं, कर रहे हैं आज की इस चर्चा से, जो सुनने वाला है उसमें से किसी एक को एक कुछ तो मिल जाए, शायद भूल भी जाए, लेकिन जब जिंदगी में कोई सच में तकलीफ वाली बात आ जाए ना, हो सकता है हमारी पॉडकास्ट की एक बात उनको याद आ जाएगी और वो बात उनको दिशा दिखा देगी.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching ANI podcast with Smita Prakash.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा.
The issue is टूटा है क्या भारत?
400 पार का मतलब ये है कि संविधान खतरे में है.
क्या हम लोग ये निर्देश देते हैं कि फला को गिरफ्तार करके जेल डाल दो?
वही तो कह रहे हैं सब.
ये बेबुनियाद निराधार आरोप.
सच्चा सुनना चाहो देखो स्मिता प्रकाश ANI. It does not lie.